Welcome to the Media Arts Update for November 2015. This is the Mr. Smith Has a Cold edition. Let's move right into the student showcase. This particular video I'm about to show is by Nigel, and he created this cool little video of a student who is showing up for the first day of school, but at the wrong building.
Action. Bye, Mom! Cut!
Oh, you can do that in post-production. It's really easy.
Mom, I'm at a photo shoot on accident. Can you come pick me up?
I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was a good use of our chroma key abilities in the computer lab. I am thrilled that Nigel submitted that, and I can't wait to see more work like it. So let's move on. I was able to show that because pretty much all of 6th grade has their publicity release forms in. There are some students that may have lost theirs in their backpacks more than once, or they're in their lockers, or I don't know where, but I need to have one of these forms in my hand if I'm going to be showcasing any work that has a student's likeness in it or was made by a student, even if it has no student likenesses in it. I really need these two checkboxes checked off if I am to display the artwork. Now, this third box is what you would check is if you don't want to give permission for your child's likeness or child's work to be shown anywhere, and you have every right to pick that. I won't judge. I'm not allowed to judge even if I wanted to, which I don't. There's plenty of reasons why you wouldn't. I understand that. But if you do want your child's work to be shown off, and I don't have this form, I have to assume the opposite is true. Okay, let's move on. The end is near. Pandemonium, mass hysteria, dogs and cats living together. Okay, so the end of first quarter is near. That's not quite as dramatic, unless you owe me some work. And then it starts to get a little dramatic. So here's what we need to do. As a parent, please check SchoolMax on a weekly basis. I update it on a weekly basis every Sunday. So if you check on Monday, you'll see the updated grades. Google Classroom, this quarter, I've been updating a lot more frequently. I've been updating that every A-Day. And you can tell which day is an A-Day by looking at pgcps.org's calendar. Or you can ask your child if they had my class today. If they answered yes, that's an A-Day. And basically, all you got to do is look for those hundreds. If there's 100, that means they did everything the project asked of them, they mastered that technique, they're moving on to the next thing. And you should be really, really proud of them. If there isn't 100 there, it doesn't mean it's a 0 forever, unless it's the end of the quarter. It just means that they're missing something and they need to do something to improve it. So it's not normally a reason to panic, unless it's the last week of the quarter, because this is not the last minute at this point, it's the last 30 seconds. We are very quickly running out of time, and these projects are not the kind of things that you can comfortably do in a single week. We've got 5 projects due total for this quarter, and that's a step down from what I originally intended because I overworked things. See my last newsletter for that. But it can still be kind of stressful. I don't want students to have to do that much work outside of class to pass, but at this point, if your child is missing some projects, they're probably going to need to do some work outside of class. Now, about that, I said 5 projects, didn't I? Well, quarter 1, project 5 is in SchoolMax. There are grades in there for that. But it's not due, if you check SchoolMax, until October 30th. So what's up with that? Is this some kind of zombie project, neither living nor dead, neither graded nor not graded? Well, sort of. Basically, what I've seen in the past is I've seen a few students, not everyone, look at their grades, see that their grades are pretty good, and not realize they had another project grade that was going to be thrown into that average. So I've thrown that last project grade, which is due the last day of the quarter, into that average early so they can get a better sense of what their grade will be if they don't get that project 5 in. And everyone who got it in early, I've graded their projects already. But there's a few people who haven't submitted anything yet for that, and they really do need to catch up with that. So, on to the next thing. Coming attractions. What's in store for us in the second quarter? Well, if we go to my website, floydtech.info, and go to the media arts section, I have added a new little category underneath the 1 point projects. Challenges. Right now we've got 3 things listed there. Only one of them has a link to a page. These are coming attractions, where basically I'm just announcing that they're going to exist. A 5 to 8 minute movie. This is similar to what we used to do as a year-long assignment, although the year-long assignment was supposed to be a 10-minute movie, so this is slightly abbreviated. I think this is going to be a more flexible project that takes less time for students to create. And adventure maps. This is going to be a Minecraft project for those students that just really can't get enough of Minecraft. I know we are all thrilled at how much our students can't get enough of Minecraft. It is the most exciting game ever. Ever. Okay, but moving on. Starting off with a 1-minute movie challenge. Now, this is something that all students are being required to do at the beginning of second quarter. This project not so much, because I'm not going to require parents to buy their kids Minecraft if they don't already own it. If your child comes home and tells you that they need Minecraft in order to complete a project for Mr. Smith, they are lying, because I will always give alternatives to that. Always. But the 1-minute movie project everyone's going to be doing, and if you click on the link here, you will see generic instructions and generic rubrics, because this is a repeatable challenge where every time we do this challenge I'm going to give slightly different requirements for it. It's still going to have to be under a minute. It's still going to follow the same steps of storyboard, raw video, then final 1-minute movie. But there's going to be additional requirements. For example, for this particular 1-minute challenge that I've already told the class about, I told them yesterday. I'm currently recording this on Tuesday, the 27th, I believe. Yes, the 27th. It's the morning and I haven't had my coffee yet. Well, they're going to need to include 3 camera angles at least. A close-up, a medium shot, and a long shot. So that's one requirement in there. I'm focusing a little bit more on the cinematography. Another requirement is it needs to convey an emotion. So they need to really think about how they're going to do that with their camera angles. But they can't have any characters. No narration. No one in front of the camera, not even themselves. And this is going to make it a lot more challenging. They're really going to have to think about how they can do that. What are they filming? Are they going to do any panning? Are they going to be like zooming in on particular props? Things like that. And also, they are required to add some type of music, which actually is going to help a lot with conveying a sense of emotion. But they're going to need to cite that song properly. I have provided them with a few resources where they can find music that they can legally add to their songs. That makes sense. Can add to their videos without violating copyright law, provided they properly cite their sources, and they'll be making use of those resources in order to complete this particular project. The storyboard is actually due on the first day of the quarter. That project portion shouldn't take very long to do, particularly since I told them in advance about it. So the students that have Project 5 in for this quarter could start working on it already. The raw video for that, I'm primarily checking just to make sure they've been recording their video. So they don't have to do any editing for that. There can be more than 1 minute's worth of material. They just take all the video they've recorded and upload that to Google Classroom. And that should be easier for them to record once they have the storyboard planned out, because they don't have to worry about a cast. They don't have to worry about people forgetting their lines or, okay, that was a bad take, let's do another take. That was the main time eater for previous video projects. So this one's gonna be shorter. Future projects will have cast members in it again, but for this one I want them to focus on what they're doing with the camera as opposed to what people are doing in front of the camera. And the big grade for this project is the edited 1-minute movie with the soundtrack, with title, with credits, with all the usual razzmatazz that you would see in a produced video. Now, in addition to my rubrics for the storyboard, for the raw video, for the 1-minute movie, those are all grades that will end up in SchoolMax. I'll be using this rubric as well. This rubric will not affect their grade in SchoolMax. It will not affect their grade in my class. What this does, and I also told my students about this yesterday, this helps them prepare for the film festival. This is the rubric that the film festival judges use when they are judging student entries. And it's a bit more harsh than my rubrics. I have used this for some other projects that the students have done, and the grades that come out of this rubric tend to be lower than the grades that I give with my own rubrics. Students who were getting A's on my rubric were getting B's, and in some cases C's with this rubric. And yeah, that's a bit harsher. I do make use of the notes, comment, suggestions section there at the bottom to help students understand why they got the grade they got, so the next video they submit takes those things into consideration so they produce better videos. This is a tool for student improvement. It's to help them know what goal to reach for if they want their work to win an award in the film festival. So it's not necessarily teaching to the test, but it's letting them know what the judges are looking for. And I think this will be a very useful tool for them. On to the tips. Tips and tricks. This is a wonderful little tool that I have used on more than one occasion. Malwarebytes is an anti-malware program that they have a free version and a paid version. This is the free version. This is actually a subset of the free version. And see, sometimes when malware affects your system, one of the first things it does is disable your anti-malware tool, whether it's Norton Utilities, or actually it's Norton Antivirus now, isn't it? But you get the idea. Norton, Symantec, those are the same thing. Avast, Microsoft Defender, all those different antivirus tools that are out there tend to get disabled by malware if the malware gets into the system. And that malware looks for more anti-spyware being installed. So it's like, oh no, you want to get rid of me? No, I'm just going to disable you as you come on. So this is a neat little tool that if you boot your computer in safe mode, and that varies depending on the operating system you're using and or what the manufacturer is. So boot your computer in safe mode and then install this, and it installs in such a way, if you follow the directions, that malware tends to not notice it's being installed, so it doesn't get disabled, so it can remove the infection and get your computer back and running nice and neat. Malwarebytes is not the main anti-malware program that I use on a daily basis, but it's my go-to if I'm fixing a computer that happens to need an additional anti-malware program put on it because the stuff that's on there isn't doing the job. I've had students bring me computers where they bring them into school and they're like, Mr. Smith, my computer's running slow. I throw this on there and I say, okay, I just removed 128 infections from your computer. And they're like, wow, my computer actually boots now. And it's fantastic. So this is a very useful tool. I highly recommend it for anyone who's running Windows and might have an infection or two that they need to remove from their machine. Okay, last thing that I want to talk about, and I actually don't want to talk about this, but let's talk about it anyway. The computers in the lab are 3 years old. They are actually the most powerful computers in the building right now, and they're the newest computers if you don't include the Chromebooks. Now you might think 3 years old is really young, and in human years, you're absolutely right. 3 years old is incredibly young for humans. But for computers, it's starting to get up there. They are at least upper middle age at this point. Do they do everything that the students need to do? Right now, yes. Right now, yes, they do. And next year, probably yes then too. And the year after that, maybe. But they're going to start breaking down. they are going to stop running the software we need them to run. They are getting older. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it is that of an oncoming train. We are not at a crisis point yet, but I see that crisis point coming because I saw it coming before my computer lab was replaced last time. So, what are we going to do about that? Well, plan ahead is one thing. I've already started talking to our principal about getting a new computer lab, and he and I understand. Excuse me. I still have that cold. He and I understand that there are many expenses that a principal needs to take into account to keep a school running, and I totally understand that throwing in the idea of buying 30 new computers for the computer lab is probably not one of the highest priorities when we have everything else to consider, including paying for staff. So that becomes a little trickier. So I need to find additional ways to help buy new computers, because he might be able to budget in for some of the computers to be replaced, but we're not going to just get a brand new lab. Most schools don't have that option unless they have Title I funding. So what do we do to prevent them from getting old and angry and cranky? Well, I have a few ideas. I have not pursued any of these yet. I haven't done any paperwork for any of these yet, because when it comes to fundraising, your results are dependent totally on the buy-in of the people who are participating. And I sort of like to know what you, the parent and or guardian of my media arts students, thinks about these ideas. We could have a paid movie night where we show student films, and everyone who comes in pays a small fee for a ticket. We could distribute DVDs of student work. I've seen some great things done with DonorsChoose.org. Granted, nothing that funded lots and lots of computers, but I've seen it fund a few computers. I have a friend who got 6 Chromebooks through a Donors Choose, and that was pretty darn sweet. Selling t-shirts. One idea that I have, and I think would be great, except for how much it costs the parents, is moving to BYOT, which stands for Bring Your Own Technology. Some of my students are already there, where they've brought in their own laptops, and they have all the software they need to get an A for the class installed on those laptops, and they are really familiar with that system because it's what they use day in and day out. And it works great for them. And each student that brings in their own computer is bringing in a computer that's newer than the ones that are in the lab right now. But there's going to be some families I know that can't afford a brand new computer. So we would still need to do some fundraising to get machines that those students would be able to use to complete the lessons. Or maybe there's something else. Maybe there's something I haven't even thought of yet. So what are your ideas? I really would like to know, so that when I move forward, and we're not at a crisis point yet, let me stress that. These computers will still edit video, no problem. But there's some programs I can't install on them because they're 32-bit machines, and most machines nowadays are 64-bit machines, so people are writing code for 64-bit machines. And some of them are starting to break down now and then, where I have to take them apart and put them back together again. We're getting to that point where eventually we won't be able to use these machines anymore, and I don't want to be at that point and not have something in place to replace them, if that makes sense. So please let me know what your ideas are. Let me know what you think about those. Email me at aaron.smith@pgcps.org. And as always, you can find most of everything I provide the students or talk about at feloytech.info, and my Twitter handle is @feloytech. Until next time, this is Mr. Smith saying have fun, and until the next video, be awesome. Bye.